Why you got to mess things up with logic, Mike? Come on. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things where it wasn't broken. They decided to fix it. In all my years of covering this league, I've literally heard no one complain about the extra point. But for some reason, the league wanted a more legitimate football play, as they constantly call it, and they wanted to encourage more two-point conversions. I'm not sure this rule will do that. I don't think it will. And it just comes off as goofy. It comes off as a fringe sport, sort of when you see minor league baseball do these wacky things, or sometimes hockey. And it seems beneath a game with the tradition and the popularity of the NFL. But maybe that's the environment we're in right now.
Where did the push come from? And I saw the vote was 30-2, so I mean it was a near unanimous vote from the teams. Were they, saying they wanted to change this? Where did the push to change this really come from?
Well, to change it became the kickers got too good, and for some reason that's an issue with some people. And I think not only it speaks to how good those guys have become, but also, nobody thinks about the long snapper, nobody thinks about the holder. So I've always kind of framed it in that way, and that, go out with your friends, this weekend and try to do it. It's not easy. It speaks to how good they are, and the fact that you're penalizing because they've got to, they've gotten it down to basically 99% of the time. It just seems like specious logic to me, but it's not the first mistake the NFL has made this year.
No, and I see the percentages: 95%, 32, 26 of the 32 teams did not miss one extra point last year, but the 33-yard field goal was connected on 93% of the time. And you kind of touched on it, but do you anticipate that this puts any more strategy or thinking to what I'm going to do after I score?
No, I think they're going to use the same chart pretty much. Most coaches, with the possible exception of a Chip Kelly, type gambler. But even, Chip Kelly has become much more conservative now that he's gotten to the pro level. And you think about it, if it's a 14-13 game with 30 seconds left, you really think somebody's going for two? Which has, basically a 48-49% rate versus kicking, the longer extra point. It's not going to happen. And by the way, it's going to make coaches in this league angry because they do not like anything that invokes second guessing. And you can imagine if they get that extra question in the press conference, all of a sudden they're going to go, what the heck? I got enough problems. And now everyone's going to be second-guessing me on this.
Well, on top of that, you just mentioned a scenario, 14-13, 30 seconds left. All right, I'm going to kick a 33-yard extra point. For the possibility that I missed that, is that better that you just lost by a point because of that? Or would the NFL rather that game go to overtime and, continue a great football game instead of saying, you missed the extra point and you just lost?
Well, I think from a coach's mentality, it's like again, it goes to the post-game press conference. You're saying to yourself, okay, if we lose 14-13, if my kicker misses that kick, people are going to chalk it up to saying he did a bad job. Maybe it was a bad snap. Maybe it was a bad hold. They're not going to crucify me. But if I go for two and we don't make it, then all of a sudden all the criticism is heaped down on the head coach. So, I think I often call the NFL reactive. They're not proactive. This is a case where they were proactive and changed something they didn't need to change, and they never think ahead. They never think two steps ahead. This is going to upset numerous people, starting with the coaches and moving on down. And by the way, it's going to create a larger market for kickers. Having a top-tier kicker is going to be more important now than ever, and therefore salaries are going to boom for kickers, and I'm not sure teams want that when they think about the salary cap.
Good point. John McMullen, the NFL editor, sportsnetwork.com with us. John, put a bow on what we know from Deflategate now. Kraft comes out. Here we are. They're not going to take the penalties. Brady's going to continue to fight this. So where are we now?
Well, I think, people need to understand that the Brady suspension and the team suspension were always going to be entirely different because the NFLPA is going to fight it no matter what as far as the Tom Brady suspension. So as far as the Patriots and Robert Kraft go, I think you saw a guy who went to San Francisco, took the temperature. The other owners realized he didn't have a lot of backing to try to force the issue and kind of tapped out. I think that's exactly what happened. And for some reason, the 32 owners of this league believe that, Roger Goodell is the only one who could steward this, multi-billion-dollar business. And I personally don't understand it. I think this league is on autopilot. I think when the next TV contract comes in, Mike Gill could be in charge of this league. John McMullen could be in charge of this league. It's still going to be $20 billion industry. I don't understand why these 32 owners kowtow to a man with no credibility, but that's where we are. And the reason the union has a case when it comes to the Brady penalty is because of the commissioner, and they're going to take it to federal court. I believe that.
John, last one. Ray Rice, looks like this got dismissed from him. Could that mean he's back in the league, or any team's going to be interested?
No, I don't think. We all knew it was going to be dismissed. I mean, as long as he did the pretrial diversion stuff, it was known that it was going to be dismissed. So I don't know why that became that big of a story, but I think the fact, and you look at it with Greg Hardy and Dallas, I mean, few people in this, on this planet can rush the passer as well as Greg Hardy. That's why he got a second chance. With Ray Rice, people forget he averaged, I think, 3.2 yards per carry in his last season before he got in trouble. That's a clear indication he's on a deep descent as a player, and I think the fact that most NFL teams don't believe he can help them is the reason he doesn't have a job.
Agreed there as well. John McMullen, everybody, the NFL editor, sportsnetwork.com, is the NFL season almost here. We're going to be about a month and a half away from the training camps opening up sometime there in mid-July. You'll see some of those teams jumping in, and plenty of football, I'm sure, between now and then. We'll creep in to our subconscious, and if it does, we'll tap into John. Thanks. Have a great weekend, John.
Hey, thanks. Have a happy holiday.